Radio Chingalo, restoring everything in Christ with love and truth. Good afternoon with the main news. I'm Kennedy Mbewe Jr. Kindly be informed that we are also streaming live on the Radio Chingalo Facebook page to you watching us on Facebook. The headlines: Business at Mulungushi bus station in Ndola disrupted. Engineering Institute of Zambia worried about the reports of unprofessionalism in the industry. Reports to ban the holding of foreign currency accounts in commercial banks in Zambia dispelled by BOZ. The details. Business at Mulungushi bus station in the Ndola town center has been disrupted after suspected PF cadres attacked bus drivers to stop them from protesting over the planned expansion of Likili bus stop at Mulungushi bus station. Police fired warning shots in the air to separate the two groups as traders and mobile money operators abandoned their stands and scampered in different directions. The drivers operating intermine buses say Likili is encroaching in their area by expanding its bus stop. Victim of the violence, Mbamuaba, who is also Bus and Taxi Drivers Association Ndola chairman, spoke to journalists over the incident.
We're going to sort out this issue. We're going to involve the police to us involving our party. Yes. Because they are fighting me to say, but I'm no opposition. I'm not opposition. I'm not opposing the government. What we are saying is Likili cannot build his own bus station inside the bus station. This bus station is for everyone. Every Zambian that wants to operate the bus station. So, the issue is before council. Council has told Marikini, can you hold on with your meetings, not until we finalize the issue? Station, the working cannot go over for Yawa. What will be a station to Alisa and put the woman about the So, if we don't protect what the government has given to us, to leave the selfish operators, Mr. So, I can just tell you, keep calm, the police are in control, and now the situation is going to be stable. I can just tell you just to go back to see how best are going to be.
And one of the commuters interviewed by Radio Chingalo News said Hajani Tulwansha was disturbed by the fight as buses stopped loading. The Ndola City Council is yet to comment on the matter. Moving on, the local authority in Kitwe has met with various stakeholders to address the challenges of solid waste management in the district. Residents, solid waste companies, the media, and concerned officers from the local authority took part in the meeting held at Garden Court Hotel this morning. And some waste collection companies are calling on the local authority to address the cost of doing business with them, saying the council charges 300 kwacha at the dump site, which the road is in bad state. Others want the local authority to assist in ensuring that residents subscribe to the refuse collection service.
Is the issue of illegal waste collectors. There are people that have been providing this service for the past 10 years, 5 years, 15 years. So now, with the enactment of the new law, those people are still providing that service. So as a result, you find that they still want to provide that service, even in the presence of the new law. So the law provides for a transition period, but they don't want to move out of that zone. So the council is supposed to come in, one, engage those people and tell them to say, there's a new law. but the council is not doing that.
When you look at the roads, the access, it's very poor. Just the past 3-4 days, I've had 2 major breakdowns. When it rains like this, the soil there is quite high. So it ends up making syrup around the bearings and seals and so on. Okay, and the thing breaks down. Okay, then we have customers complaining, so we are not picking up and so on.
Meanwhile, Kitwe City Council cleansing manager Andrew Kalonge took time to remind residents to adapt to the new system of paying for refuse collection, saying it is no longer a free service.
It was probably included rentals in households, so at the moment, the council doesn't have those households which were rented out. We've engaged the privates to cover it. So the issue of paying for waste is the biggest challenge that we have. Most people still feel waste is waste, they don't have to pay for it.
And Vice President in charge of Commerce, Emmanuel Mbambiko, says the local authority must heed to the call by the franchisees over reducing the cost over doing business to strike a balance.
Waste supporting groups, and we are saying that the council must reduce the fees, and the reduced fees will be passed as a benefit to the service providers, who again equally pass on that benefit to the households or the industry. That is the only way that we can make this service of cleaning up our city feasible. The more expensive it is, the more difficult it is for,
A 1-by-3 classroom block has been constructed at Riverside Extension Primary School in Kitwe by Kwacha Member of Parliament Joseph Malanji to mitigate the challenge of inadequate classrooms. Mr. Malanji has since handed over the classroom block to accommodate more pupils, and some parents have told Radio Chingle News that the construction of more classes and the groundbreaking of another 1.5 classroom block at Riverside Extension Primary School would enable pupils to learn in a conducive environment.
Atumfamna tutemwandana tuchata wana wezinomba balamba okuisa pa sikulu mupya pina pape kusikira pa mushapa myezi nokuisa pa pano pa sikulu balamba okuisa abana besu kuchira okula ku masikulu kutali bachamba paipi bako natumfa bwina temwakaira abana panomba bakula sadi yafe bwino nangu kukula kune kwasi ametuli akuti baisa kusambia teto akula sakamana lomba chama sikulu na chepa kai lomba pa yafulilako so abana bakula sambira fe bwino na kuikala bakula ikala fe bwino ma classes awo twatoto kwa kuti ifi babika kwa sikuluku awo twatota kwa bapalamine twakula leta abana besu kwisa mukusambirira pano
mufyo bachitana machitepi chikankana pantu paino nchende yarwa mpepina komboni nokukira kapota then nchende yati chepere abana balifuna so pali inosolunga mu class babana ona ndi block itokwatiza session kisana machabuti ute kubulemba muri iwe kusakamane nyosha abantu musambiro ya abantu ngesho abantu itwa watu bali kwa dote
wena ifa ndipofile tuletote la fikozi tatwale chitekero kwa bati kuti umuteko kwa chitecha msango tuletotera sana akoti ngabana bali pa school pano balifula.
And Kitwe District Education Board Secretary Christopher Nyungila said the school has 901 learners with 20 teachers, which require expansion as it has been given to go ahead to have a grade 8 pupils next year.
Number of 901 learners at the school with a total number of 20 teachers. The community needs more classroom, especially that the school has been given authority to open a grade 8 class next year. I'm aware of the fact that you have a lot of passion. You have a lot of passion, Honorable Minister, for the community and education in particular, and hence your gesture.
Meanwhile, Kwacha Member of Parliament Joseph Malanji pledged to take more developmental projects to his constituency. The lawmaker also said that all citizens deserve to have access to quality education. Moving on, the Engineering Institute of Zambia, EIZ, is worried about the reports of unprofessionalism in the industry, which has resulted in low compliance levels among engineering companies. Speaking during a media breakfast held at a Garden Court Hotel today, EIZ President Engineer Abel Ngandu says this has now prompted EIZ to set up an integrity and ethics committee to help with quality performance. Engineer Ngandu said this in a speech read on his behalf by Charity Chola, Vice President in charge of policy and public relations.
To announce that the system engineering council has formed an ethics and integrity committee whose core objective is to fast track cases from the disciplinary committee. Our goal as council is to restore the engineer's image in today's society. This committee will soon be sitting and will be handling cases, of course, with the blessing of the disciplinary committee. The general cry is that we are not.
And speaking when he graced the occasion, Copperbelt Permanent Secretary Bright Nundwe talked about professionalism and reminded EIZ to take keen interest in various projects government has embarked on across the country.
That simply team said, let me do this, then the bridge collapses. Sure, what do you want to do? We show that the nation was part of the entire stretch. The runners, but it's right. But imagine your profession is very important. We love you. Genuinely, you got it right. What you're supposed to do is to be fair, to be professional, to do a job, to follow the ethics of the act. Your acts, act number 17 of 2010. How do you utilize it? If such an act is not helping you.
In business news, the Bank of Zambia has dispelled social media reports suggesting that the bank and the Ministry of Finance are working on a statutory instrument SI to ban the holding of foreign currency accounts in the commercial banks in Zambia. The bank says members of the public must treat such reports as false and unfounded, as they are misleading. BOZ has also observed that if left unchallenged, reports have the potential to cause panic and destabilize the financial sector and the economy as a whole. The bank adds that just like it indicated in the past, the exchange rate policy in Zambia will continue to be founded on a market-determined exchange rate, saying this is the most appropriate way in which economic imbalances are resolved. According to the statement issued by the Communications Division, members of the public have since been urged to use social media responsibly and desist from circulating false news. In sports, the Zambia Under-17 men's national team will today begin their title defense as they face Comoros Islands at the ongoing COSAFA Championship in South Africa. Junior Chipolo Polo, who are defending champions, have held several training sessions to prepare for the tournament. And coach George Chilfia says the overall objective is to defend the title and qualify for the Africa Cup of Nations Youth Tournament. This news broadcast comes to you in the community service of Radio Chingalo with compliments of Moose Milling and Zambia Catholic University. International news as monitored from the BBC. Human Rights Watch say the Ugandan authorities are using COVID-19 guidelines to oppress the opposition. BBC has more with stories from around the world.
Governing party rallies have been allowed to go ahead without disruption, But when it comes to the opposition, Uganda's security forces have stepped in if the crowds are sizable. During the more than 3 decades that President Yoweri Museveni has been in power, he's routinely been accused of using violence against his political rivals. Human Rights Watch says the increasing spate of violence so early in the campaign season does not bode well for the weeks ahead of January's election.
A coronavirus lockdown in the state of South Australia will be lifted early after the man who caused it was found to have lied about working in a pizza bar. The police initially said the man would not be prosecuted. The task force is now reviewing that decision. Phil Mercer reports.
The authorities say a man infected with COVID-19 wasn't a customer at a pizza shop in Adelaide, which was a coronavirus hotspot, but a member of staff. His initial account led health officials to believe that given his brief exposure to the disease in the restaurant, they were dealing with a new super strain of the virus. It sent the state of South Australia into a sudden and hard lockdown. It's now clear the man worked closely alongside a colleague who tested positive for the coronavirus.
President Trump is expected to meet Republican leaders of the Michigan state legislature at the White House today as he continues his effort to overturn his election defeat. Reports suggest he will seek to convince them not to certify Joe Biden's clear victory in Michigan and instead appoint delegates to the Electoral College who will back his attempt to hold on to power. Some Republicans support Mr. Trump's increasingly forlorn efforts to claim victory.
On that note, we end this afternoon's main news, Friday, day number 20 in the month of November 2020. For these and more stories, you can visit our Facebook page, log on to Facebook and like the Radio Chingalo page and link to radiochingalo.radio12345.com. You can also listen to the rebroadcast of the news on our YouTube channel. Radio Chingalo is also active on Radio Garden. And of course, COVID-19 is still with us. Therefore, wear a mask when in public, avoid large groups and maintain social distance. Wash your hands frequently for at least 20 seconds and avoid unnecessary movements. On behalf of the entire news team, my name is Kennedy Mbewe Jr. Do join us for the news summary coming up at 6 hours. Thank you so very much for listening and have yourself a lovely afternoon. Thank you.